All right, so a week ago today, I was sitting, or not at this exact hour. I was in the kitchen doing dinnerish types of things between 8:30 and 9, and I look over at my phone, and I thought my phone had gone into cardiac arrest. It just blew up, and then all of a sudden we had to come up with all these things, figure out all the particulars in the deal. And so many people have gone over the top. I've tried not to. I don't know that this upsets the balance of power in the Eastern Conference. It could. I don't know that it has yet. But what was your first reaction when Mikko Rantanen and Taylor Hall, who frankly maybe has been better than Mikko Rantanen? That's not a knock on Mikko Rantanen. Taylor Hall has been, I think, dynamite in the 2 games that he's played. What was your first reaction when you heard about the deal?
We couldn't believe it. I mean, I know exactly where I was. I was having dinner with my good buddy Eddie Olczyk, and we do this every once in a while, much to my chagrin, but we were having dinner, and nice conversation, and the phone started going, and messages started coming in, and then we're getting the deal piecemeal. And, it looked like, Marty was part of the package. It looked like Kokaniemi was going and all these different things and who's getting picks, and now Chicago's involved. Anyway, it's intriguing, and what this has done is set up 2 things in my mind. Number one, this is a copycat league, and I think teams now that have a valued piece, a star piece, that they feel might not go the right path for their franchise financially, will start to act on that player much sooner than the deadline, and much sooner than obviously the off season, where you could either lose the player for very little or nothing,
right?
And make a deal. And I think we'll start to see more of this, which is good for the league. It creates a lot of excitement. It pushes teams out of their comfort zone. We're getting very predictable as a league in terms of, blockbuster deals are made at the draft.
Yeah.
Some deals are made July 1. The signings, obviously, July 1. Then there's no signings. Then there's a couple things on the periphery in September. And then we have nothing until the trading deadline. It's rather boring for the fans, and certainly for us that cover the league. So that part of it could be something that we see play out in the future. And the other thing that it's created here is another season. We have whatever's happened now until now, and whatever happens now through the break and beyond the break. But once we get to March 7th, then we're going to know what the second season before the playoffs is going to look like, because it will create an arms race in the East. It will force teams that are competing with the Hurricanes to do something, and we're not going to know as observers of the league what to do and how to assess any team until it's all over. And then we'll see, what the rosters look like and who's playing the best with their new pieces.
John Forslund is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show, and here's the reason I've pushed back on all the. I mean, Vegas has made the Hurricanes the betting favorite in the East, and I think a lot of the people that cover the league nationally have just ascended Carolina to the position of the team to beat. I personally still think it's Florida as the team to beat. I still wonder if the Devils can figure. I don't know why the Devils aren't better than the Devils are. I know Jacob Markstrom's injury has something to do with it, but the Devils were kind of going sideways before Jacob Markstrom's injury. In fact, the Devils kind of looked like the Hurricanes had for about 5 weeks, where Carolina was essentially playing 500 hockey for 5 weeks. I think the Hurricanes have sort of come out on the other side, at least in terms of results. But I still think for Carolina, it's about Aho and Svechnikov more than it's about Rantanen and Hall, and it's about the goaltending. Because I think if the goaltending doesn't hold up, and Kochetkov wasn't awesome last night, if the goaltending doesn't hold up, I don't think any of it matters.
Yeah, you're right on the money, and I applaud you for always being kind of the voice of reason when it comes to this, because the Hurricanes should be on another level as opposed to other teams, but over the last few seasons, I think have been, in my opinion, overrated in some ways when you look at how they play and how they have their makeup in place. I'm going to go back to what I think I talked to you about earlier in this season, if not at the very beginning, and maybe both times. In my opinion, for the Hurricanes to take the next step to get to be a championship team, They got to wipe out any kind of arrogance that's within their game. Not that the players are arrogant, or
Right.
coach is arrogant, or the team, the franchise, the owner, whatever it is. I'm saying the way they view their own game and how they play. They still need to, in Rod's words, dig in more. And with the new pieces, Mikko Rantanen, will he dig in with as much commitment with a new team and worrying about, and only he can answer this, where he goes next or if he stays? Is that going to be the same to get them to win the Stanley Cup? Is Sebastian Aho going to take another step to be even better than where he's at right now, which to me needs to be better? Same with Svetch. Are all of these things going to be in play? Then they win. But if not, you're just dealing with an on-paper scenario where you have great pieces and you can get through a season and they're good enough to beat everybody 85% of the time, really, or should.
Yeah.
And then they go, and like most teams, it's 82 games with travel. It's hard for everybody to be good all the time. You're going to have dips. And it's just, where you're at when it ends and what it actually looks like. And if you're going to be able to beat the champions who have already won the cup and know what it takes and will get in the trenches for 2 weeks and beat you. That's where the Canes have to go.
Yeah, and it's funny, when the Hurricanes have come up against, theoretically, the best teams, especially lately, they've played fine.
Yes.
The win over Vegas, the way they played against Toronto, the game they played in Florida after having lost the 2 games previously to the Panthers. So we know what they're capable of. I hate to say that they've kind of taken their eye off the ball against some of the other teams. The loss to the Ducks, to me, that was about goaltending, but Carolina should have scored more. But just because you spoke about Aho and Svechnikov, because this is something that I've been on top of all year. I think Aho has played hard. I almost think Aho is trying too hard to score. And maybe sometimes that doesn't lead to scoring. Sometimes it leads to overthinking, and there have been times where he has looked to pass when he should shoot, and vice versa. I think at some point it'll click, and when it does, maybe it'll be glorious, but it hasn't clicked yet, offensively.
Yeah, and they have time. They have time to figure this out because right now they're good enough to figure out if a game's going sideways within a specific game, they can win it. So, but that's not going to win in the playoffs. But there's time. They're in a spot. They know what they have. They might make another move. Who knows? And everything else really doesn't matter. The speculation about Rantanen, staying or not, and who wins the deal if he does in fact leave, if he signs, who cares? Because that player and his agent are the only 2 people that are going to figure that one out. Because whatever is going to be there for Mikko Rantanen at the end of the season is going to be a boatload of money, no matter who it is.
Yes.
So, it's just how he fits the framework of their game and how they dictate the control of the game without, vacillating around and relying on a power play and relying on a big moment shorthanded to get them through a game or a huge save sequence or whatever it is. They just need to make sure they have all of that locked tight because, as of right now, the only other team I think in the East that you could say that about maybe, is Florida. I think every other team, the Leafs, all these teams that New Jersey, all of them that are Washington even, Washington might be the most rock solid team I've seen recently. Okay. And I think they deserve a little bit more credit than they're getting for a remarkable regular season, but they still have to prove it in the playoffs.
Yeah. It's funny. They've Logan Thompson's had a great year, but is that real or is that a great year? We've seen goaltenders have that type of a season kind of out of nowhere, and it's probably not completely out of nowhere. We've seen flashes of that from Logan Thompson before, and I still have a hard time. I close my eyes and go, really, Dylan Strome? is the
Yeah.
so those type
Well, with
like
the goalies, I mean, you lived it there with Ned, right? So, I mean,
yeah.
Ned's year was spectacular, but it wasn't. His career is gone as a good NHL goalie. That's what he is.
Yeah.
But he looked like the second coming at one point. So that's what we're talking about.
John Forslund is joining us here. I want to get your take on the salary cap, which is going up. I think at the beginning of the season, the initial update was, I guess estimate was going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $92 million. It's going up to $95.5, which is an increase of about $6 million, right over last year. It was like basically 89, so $6.5 million, and then they know it's going to go up almost 10 more million after that, and then almost 10 more million after that. So by the time we get to 27, 28, the salary cap will be like 25% higher than it is now. Gary Bettman has obviously done a good job with this league. That's going to, what an influx of cash we've got coming.
Okay, yeah. First of all, on Gary, he's a fantastic commissioner.
Yep.
People can say whatever the hell they want to say about him. He is a fantastic commissioner, in my opinion, because it's really the end game that's the most important thing. And when you look at where it was in '93 and where it is now, it's remarkable. And so these numbers are astounding because it shows the future, and they're not going to throw it out there without two things in play. They know it's going to be there, and they're comfortable with it. Now, the owners are not going to throw out a number for future salary caps unrealistically, or they're going to throw something out there that they couldn't still not make money on.
Right.
Okay, so they're still going to make their money, or potentially make their money, and that's the goal here. So that's a good sign for the league. The league has grown. This is a generation of players that we have right now. Is outstanding. The game is exciting. There's future television money that's on the horizon.
Yep.
Streaming. There's a lot of things that are going to broaden the scope. When this is the first view of it, and it's important with upcoming CBA negotiations on the horizon that both sides understand what the real numbers are, so that nobody is stupid enough to blow it up when they get there at the table again. We've already been there 3 times. Let's not do that again. And so this also shows the teams, like the one that you're around there, what you can do moving forward. And boy, it's going to set up players now, and that's a big reason why Colorado had to make a decision on this player. They love the player. The player fit in with their best player, but they also have a defenseman that's due in a couple of years that's going to be right there among one of the highest paid players in the history of hockey.
Yep.
Cale Makar is going to make a ton of money. He and McDavid are going to be maybe 1 and 2 because he's a defenseman. Like it's a different ball game. So his contract's going to be monumental. So they have to make these decisions. But these are all positives for hockey, and it's a good thing. And when you look around the league, the buildings, by and large, are thriving. We don't really have, soft crowds anymore in South Florida and in Raleigh and in Columbus and in other places. They will vacillate based on the success of the teams now. But for the most part, this is a different situation than we've been in the past.
Yeah, I know. I watched the game at Utah. That looks like a fun place.
Unbelievable! I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what to think. Unbelievable atmosphere. I mean, it's going to be, and they're looking at a new building and the Olympics in 36, I think. And, there's, and good for the players who have gone through a circus in Arizona and tried to be NHL players and play in the environments they've had to play in Arizona. If Arizona comes back, and I think the league still loves the market, it has to be with quality ownership, and that's what gets you through. And that's been seen now with this, where the NHL is right now. Every market has quality ownership who has the ability to be deep-pocketed and give the fans what they want to see.
Yeah, I mean, no better example of that than here. I don't know how many consecutive sellouts the Hurricanes have had.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And he is swinging for the fences.
Yep.
And you know me. I mean, I had my own situation, there, but I'm going to call it as I see it right now, and they are swinging for the fences, and more power to him. And he's empowered a guy and Eric Tulsky, who is an outlier in terms of his background and now the position that he's in. But remember, he was hired by Francis
Right.
way back when.
It was.
Like that's and Tom inherited Eric. And I love Eric Tulsky. I wish him all the best, and I applaud the Hurricanes for just saying, okay, we're gonna go for it again, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I've looked at this move as more of a move for the future than the present, because I do think that they are equipped if all goes. I mean, I don't even think they have to win the cup. If Rantanen believes the environment is good for him, then I think the Hurricanes will have no problem at all paying him what he needs to stay here, and they're going to have the room.
Absolutely, and relationships are important, and he and Sebastian have that. And if he wants to do it, he will. Or if he wants to go to the highest bidder,
right,
he'll have that opportunity. He'll make it's all he's in the driver's seat. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt.
No doubt about that. Can we talk Four Nations next time?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Are you headed for any of that, or are you going to be home for a while?
No, I'm not doing. I'm taking the 2 weeks off, and
nice.
I'll be available for you whenever you need it. And I'm just going to rest up. And I've been doing endless cycles of 8 games and 9 nights in 8 different cities, and I'm good. I feel great, thank God, and I'm happy, and I love to work. But there's also time to rest and recuperate. And that's what I'll be doing.
I'll bug you during the Four Nations. It should be fun. Thank you so much.
Should be great.
John Forslund, the best.